everybody, from your friends at No Limits. My name is Scott Morgan, around the Motor City Man Mouth, and my voice goes up and down and all the way around. That does happen. It does get a bit of a workout. My voice is like breaks sometimes. You end up wondering where it could be with the trip, wear and tear, but who cares? I'm going to keep doing this until the man upstairs says, I can't do it no more. Great dream team here on tonight's episode. We have Marvin Powell III, who is a superstar in our system.
Yeah, but we got too many Bruins on this show already.
Well, we may be having some fun on that Saturday show, although it'll be way too early for them because we start that thing at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and I don't know if we get some early risers, but I know we got Mel Farr Jr. who comes on that show, and that show is a real hit. And we got Candy Embling, our crack researcher.
Marvin, I'm not a UCLA Bruin, so
Yeah.
You're good with me.
Yeah, but this lady on the bottom below you, she's already let it be known which side she is.
Season ticket holder.
Oh.
I'm a USF Bull.
Yeah.
I'm a USF Bull. For those that know who I am and what I'm about, that's probably the right school that I end up going to anyway. Hey, look at Jen. I'm going to get you purple before it's all said and done, Jen.
Most people don't know UCF, I think. I would bet you.
Well, I'm not at UCF. It's USF.
That's you see what I mean? You see, that's exactly.
You don't know it. You don't know it, but you're being trained by USF Bull, so you might want to go out there and be thankful that they trained me, because I'm trying to make a Trojan follow a bull, even though we haven't won bull in many of our years in athletics. Although, actually, if you go on the website, I did write a story for the South Florida Tribune about the USF Mount Rushmore coaches. So check that out under my name, and you'll get an idea who they are. And last but not least, we have, welcome back. You're the main event anyways with all this bobsledding business.
Oh, thank you very much, man. I appreciate you guys having me back. So, yeah. And
we have Jennifer. Oh, my goodness. Here you go. It's a face and a smile that anybody could go out there and salivate over. But anyways, let's take care of the business at hand. And it isn't business I really like to talk about. Michael Schumacher, former Formula One champ, according to his wife, Karina, can only communicate with using his eyes. 12 years after his life-changing skiing accident occurred in the French Alps in 2013. Boy, how tragic that was. Since the incident, Schumacher has been under around-the-clock care at his family's home in Switzerland. A small group of family and close friends are there and can only see him. So, yeah, obviously, Karina does protect his privacy. All right. Now, obviously, we don't think that Schumacher is really a CTE type of individual. But, boy, can you imagine what it's done to his mental health, knowing that, my gosh, you go on a skiing trip, and all of a sudden it ended for a legendary Formula One guy, Marvin.
Yeah, he's more than legendary. I looked up the video. I Googled his name today, and the first video I saw was somebody debating whether he's the GOAT or not. Just the fact that he was in that conversation says everything. It doesn't matter what the sport is, what we're talking about here. I mean, so this sport, F1 racing, car racing, they lost one of the greatest to ever do it. Which to the sport is horrific. When you hear about his accident, you feel for his wife, his daughter. I saw where he recently attended his daughter's wedding, which is a blessing he can do that. But this guy, again, just one of the go to the game. And even though I'm not a big fan of F1, I respect competition and I respect competitors. So when you tell me somebody's the GOAT, I'm telling you, it hit my heart, and I really mean that, man. Just so. Sucks for this guy. Thank God, he has resources and, he has the ability to get the best care possible. Nobody really knows what his state is and what state he's in. I understand that he's able to pay attention and, as you said, communicate with his eyes and stuff like that. And again, that's just thank God to modern technology. But, what an adjustment for him, a guy who was one of the best in the world, at the top of the mountain, and you see quickly, you realize quickly what matters in life. Number one, just having life. And he was able to obviously be spared in that accident. But yeah, horrific situation. Thank God he's able to have some type of communication with his family. Situations like this, man, people like this, you just wish them success, because you realize, just like that, your life can be different. So, yeah, kudos to his wife for just standing by his side. I watched a few different videos earlier today, and apparently, I mean, she's the model wife in this situation. So, much love to her, and a big shout out to him and his family.
See, when people think of motorsport personalities, they often look at Dale Earnhardt Sr., Jeff Gordon, AJ Foyt, just to name a few. So that's what makes it unbelievable that Michael Schumacher is obviously for Formula One, and he's iconic there. Candy?
Yeah, when I looked him up, because I'm not a huge Formula One person, but he's a German former racing driver who competed in Formula One from 91 to 2006 and 2010 to 2012. He won a record-setting 7 Formula One World Drivers' Championship titles, tied by Lewis Hamilton in 2020. And at the time of his retirement, he held the records for the most wins at 91, pole positions at 68, podium finishes at 155, and while he maintains the record for the most fastest laps, 77 among others. Just really sad. The other thing that when I was reading about him, it says that he was such a humanitarian that he has been involved in several humanitarian projects and has donated over 65 million US dollars to various charities. So, unfortunately, in December of 2016, he suffered a traumatic brain injury in a skiing accident and was placed in an induced coma for 6 months. And then he was rehabilitated, and he's receiving private treatment at his home since September of 2014. So, just really sad. But yeah, that reminds people that it can be anybody and it can happen to anybody. Life is precious, and tell everybody you love them all the time, because you never know when the last time you're going to see them is.
Go ahead, Will. Obviously, we talk about Michael Schumacher, life is precious. If I were anybody, I could say is take as many pictures as you can with your loved ones. You don't know when that last opportunity is going to be there. Some people get it, some don't.
Well, I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. I met Michael Schumacher really one time. Remember, I told you the story. He was with, Prince Albert and Anaconda Cova when I had my first bobsled crash. And that was the day when they were standing together, and Prince Albert comes over and he winks at me, and I'm concussed. Like he's live TV. Everybody sees it. It's not hidden. I'm walking sideways, like I'm out of it. And so he comes over and he winks at me. And so I was like, oh my God, I didn't know Prince Albert was in love with me. I was like confused, and for all these years, I really thought that Prince Albert had this crush on me because I was not thinking cloudy. But what I can tell you about Michael, he was there, and Anaconda Cova, they came and checked on me personally. He was such a really nice guy. And then I ran into him one other time. I don't remember if I was in, I don't know if that was Estonia or I was traveling through Italy or something, but he had these huge, huge fans. And like, he was like the Michael, no, he wasn't the Michael Jordan of that sport. He was like the Michael Jackson of racing. Like, there was like 500 people following him at all times with big giant cowbells, and they beating this thing. And I was like, who are these nuts? And when I figured out who they were, I was just blown away I didn't know there were fan clubs that big before. Like, I had never seen that before. And, we had Michael Jordan and all those people here, but he was on a whole nother level. And to hear about him having such a horrific injury like that, and when they put him in a coma, like, guys, I think outside the box, because I lived with the CTE. I found my way back from it. And if he was in an induced coma that long, he had a lot of head injuries. I'll guarantee you they probably are not hyperbaric treating this guy, which is getting that inflammation away from the brain. So I hope they hear this thing. Go put this man in the chamber, remove that inflammation, and see what happens. Because even with me, when my symptoms kicked in, I couldn't talk. I would get to the point where I can't talk. You can't form words. All those things that we see these athletes going through. There is a way. There is a route back. You just have to find it.
Okay, we'll turn over to Jen.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that. Well, it reminds me of thinking like, because a lot of spinal injuries, one of the biggest problems with the whole thing is the inflammation around it. I've never thought about the hyperbaric oxygen chamber for spinal injuries as well. I mean, to me, this whole accident really just goes to show you, I mean, it's not in his core sport. He did not, like people say all the time, you live that kind of lifestyle and something's going to happen. Well, that didn't happen during that, right? But it is kind of a type of a person. And I know, because I, as a former skydiver, I know plenty of people. You don't do just one crazy thing in life. You usually do a lot of things, and you usually do them very precisely. He's a goat of his sport. I would imagine, he was probably very good at skiing as well, but accidents happen and life does change, just like Melvin was talking about, like life can spin on a dime. And so appreciate each and every day the way it is. It's so easy to complain. It's so easy to, get frustrated with the way life is without remembering how good we really have it, even in our times of anger, even in our times of frustration. Still appreciate the things that you do have. And, God bless to the whole family over there.
The only thing I'll add to this is this: skiing. Okay. And I mean skiing. Once upon a time on December 25th, 1989, I was involved in a skiing accident up in Magic Mountain in Vermont on my last run of the day. And I'll tell you one thing, I never realized the impact of that. I had to be carried down, by the way, airlifted down, and I was taken to a local hospital and tore the ligaments of my left ankle. That stinks. Luckily, it was only my left ankle, not my right. Ironically, former New York Yankees manager Billy Martin was killed that day because of a drunk drive. He was killed because of alcohol. And I'll never forget that day because of Billy and I having that connection. And yet I've interviewed Billy in the past. So skiing is nothing that you take lightly, and what it can do mentally cause you into a little bit of a depression situation. And that's not good either, when you really put things in their proper perspective. So, hey, I highly wish Michael Schumacher the best. Obviously, I don't know how much more you can get out there, Parker, with everyone else. I don't know. They're out there doing something. I know what we're doing, but thanks for being in the chat room anyways. So you can't take skiing for accident and understand what the mental aspect of it is in terms of the brain and so forth. And I'll tell you, I'll never forget what happened to me, but that's safe to say that on that Christmas day in 1989, skiing I was done. My skiing career ended in Vermont. All right, let's continue the theme here. We'll go from skiing over to the NFL. And according to Front Office Sports, the NFL headquarters shooter had low stage CTE. The shooter who killed 4 at a Manhattan building housing the NFL's headquarters was found to have once again a low stage CTE by the New York Medical Examiner's Office. That's a credible source when you're talking about the actual New York Medical Examiner's Office. Marvin, what's your take on that?
My take is that ever since, listen, the human body wasn't made for football. I get that. Okay. It's a dangerous sport. It's a violent sport. It's a physical sport. That's how the game, that's just what it is. Okay. Everybody who's played football at the highest level, at the collegiate level or pro, they knew that going in. Okay. We all knew that. The issue obviously is that the NFL was well aware of what CTE was, concussions, and they didn't share this with the NFL players. Okay, that's the issue. The Will Smith movie has made football the devil, and CTE is all over that. Okay, what this guy did in New York, in the New York City building at the players' office, it was horrible. Okay, the NFL office, it was horrible. Okay, and if this kid, I understand he played high school football. And I guess we're trying to connect, he played high school football. He got CTE. He goes to the NFL offices because he wants to teach them a lesson or bring awareness or whatever it may be. I think it's all horrible. I think it's bad what he did. I think the way that they're using this to make this seem like it's a horrible game is a bad thing. And I say that as somebody who's a member of the NFLPA, but it was a tragic day. It was horrible. I don't know. I hate that this guy, thought that going to the NFL office was some kind of redemption or some type of, let's blame them. I hate that headline, that narrative, that thought. People trying to connect the dots, and we have a gun safety problem in America. We have a gun problem in America. We have an issue of not really wanting to address mental health in America. Football is a great game. I hate that it got mixed up into this mess with this person.
Candy.
Yeah, I mean, what happened was a tragedy. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's sad when anybody takes somebody else's life. And do we know what caused everything? No. I mean, we'll never know. Like, does he have a low-grade CTE? That could be. But until America addresses the mental health aspect of everything in the country and recognizes it and does more for people that have mental health, to recognize it, like, if you see something, speak up. Until we address that issue, I don't think things are going to get better, and until people get help, and it's hard. It's tough. It's a tough topic to even talk about.
Okay. Well,
I'm kind of on the other side of it. Like, I really, what that guy did was horrible, definitely. But I really can't blame him because, guys, I came out the fire with this thing. I come from the bottom. I was living this thing. I was on the ground praying for death every day of my last 10, 12 years of my life, praying for death. This God, please come get me. Why am I still here? And so with him, I'm kind of baffled that the fact that he knew, because anybody I ever spoke to, no one ever can figure it out. I'm trying to figure out how he figured it out. And the thing is, he had a low grade CTE. My teammate who called me speaking that gibberish before he went to his family's factory and hung himself, he was in stage 4. He said his brain was worse than any brain they've ever seen, including Junior Seau. And so just think, you have a small CTE, and I know what your brain tells you. When you're in that stage, you start thinking about harming yourself or harming other people. I have some people who disclose things to me, and they're telling me, like, I know a guy who told me, like, he has a hit list of people he wants to murder. And he has a therapist whose only job is to keep him from murdering people on that list. That's what CTE really is. If you look at the CTE rate, the murder rate, 31% are coming from our veterans since 2012. So it's our veterans coming back. It's a lot of people dealing with a lot of stuff, but we really got to get to the basis of it and really put that help out there. Like, there's help out here because I'm here speaking about it, but it's just too expensive. 1 month of training of treatment is going to cost you $12,000. Our veterans can't afford that. Can't afford that. So we just have to do better as a society. Yeah.
Jen.
Yeah, this topic is near and dear to my heart because my ex-fiance, the very first diagnosis we got for him was concussion syndrome. And that was back in, I think, 2014, 15, but I think it was 15. And that was it. You have concussion syndrome, and they sent us home. And nothing, there was no treatment, no anything. And so it was that movie Concussion where I unraveled what is concussion syndrome, right? And with him, I thought, yeah, because the movie addressed, the explosions out of nowhere, the emotional, the inability to control your emotions, a lot of those things, but I don't, and his are probably from football back in the 80s. My ex, and maybe even before when he was in Pop Warner and whatnot. I think he got concussions. He said starting at age 8.
Sheesh.
I don't think it's about villainizing football or not villainizing, or like we have William and I have an acquaintance now who villainizes every contact sport, and I don't think we want to take away all contact sports. I think that's pretty universal. I think what we need to do, though, is really start studying brains and studying what needs to happen immediately after the game, immediately after injuries. We need protocols that are going to really help people in real time. And so a lot of what happens with concussions is there's a big break in between the actual injury and then you heal from the injury, and then when you start to suffer from those symptoms. So low-level CTE sounds like, oh, it's just low level. Well, when does a TBI turn into CTE? Who knows? Right. But as Will and I have been on this journey of, trying to spread awareness about brain health, there's so many examples that we have of, we don't know if they're full CTE or just a TBI or whatever, but every little bit of TBI, every little bit of an injury to your brain affects your life in some way, affects your moods in some way, affects your cognition, affects your vertigo, there's all kinds of things that are tied up into it. And the headaches, I mean, I've had some bad headaches in life, and the way Will's describing the headaches of CTE, it's like you probably want to chop your head off. So if you think that there are people that are responsible who knew about this, and they've known about it for a long time. I mean, Junior Seau was 2012, so we can even start the conversation there. That's 15 years we have where we should have been doing a lot more to preserve athletes' brains, to preserve and protect our athletes. And this circles back to Will and his lawsuits against the Bobsled Federation, because they're not owning up to their responsibility. And that's all we're asking for, is own up to the responsibility. We know there are certain sports that have a higher propensity for brain damage. That's serious. That's not a little bit. That's not, you're going to break your ankle. I mean, breaking your ankle or spraining your ankle, that's no joke, right? That's life debilitating. You're going to suffer for a while, but you hurt your brain, that's life changing. You're not coming back. But Will did come back. He came back from the symptoms because he finally found a thing that worked for him. Will had no quality of life, living on the floor.
All right.
And so then he discovers hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So there's a modality that's helping people. There's other modalities that we've been introduced to since we've started this journey that are helping people. We need greater access to those therapies. They're not cheap. And it's not like, get insurance to cover everything. It is perhaps, but there's protocol that needs to happen. There's studying that needs to happen. When does it need to happen? How much? How do we monitor? What are the measurements? And this it needs to all start happening in 2026.
Totally agree. Number one, for a guy that dealt with head injuries, and that's why I took you guys on as a series like I have done. Obviously, it's something that I take seriously, but the reality is, whether it's low stage CTE, I don't care. It's CTE, no matter whether it's like the onset of Alzheimer's. What does that mean? It's the beginning of, okay? And I'll tell you what, Candy, when I go ahead and I'm no longer alive, she's going to donate my brain to find out if there's some answers with the level of concussions. I have no problem doing it. Obviously, she's looking to put it off as long as she can. But the one thing she'll have to inform my dad is, you can't mess around with him, because obviously we're going to be doing brain studies after he's deceased. And I know she'll at some point convey that message to him as I continue to go to the neurologist, to realize that people have a limit in terms of whether they're going to have short fuses, long tolerance, and all that. And that's all part of the traumatic brain injuries that I have to deal with even in my early stages of Alzheimer's. So if anybody can relate, but I don't care what anybody says, whether it's a low stage CTE, the reality is the diagnosis is confirmed by the New York City Medical Examiner's Office. And that's a very credible source in order to go out there and get that type of diagnosis, period. We're talking about New York City Medical Examiner's Office, people. And that's the things that we have to really go ahead and keep in perspective. All right.
Hey, Scott, what one more note about that I thought was interesting. So my dad obviously was a former NFL player. And when he died 3 years ago, I got a phone call from University of Harvard University. They're the ones who are doing the whole concussion testing and CTE stuff. Right. And they called me probably 2 days after he had died, and they asked if they could have his brain. I was all for it. But they said that they had to have it within like a day and a half of death, which if you don't know that, then I think a lot of guys are being passed over and not being able to actually get tested. But about, this was in, 2022, I think. Right. So, yeah.
That's a valid statement to make. So people know, that like donate your brain in your
You gotta have you better contact Harvard University
yeah.
in their study, get connected with them if you have somebody who you think's close to that point or whatever it may be, because they have to have the body within like a day and a half, which I thought was a lot, or have the brain within a day and a half. We didn't get that far what they would actually take, because
they actually just started doing the military veterans. They was most of them. They give them that PTSD diagnosis, but now that they're checking their brains, they're finding out that those PTSD diagnoses are actually CTE. So, and it makes sense because there's 6,400 veteran suicides every year. But what they don't tell you is there's an additional 5,000 per year from overdoses. So even if you leave a suicide note, they don't count that as a suicide. But there's 11,000 veterans every year that's dying because of these head conditions, I believe.
Yeah. Well, the bottom line is we can't lose sight of the fact that regardless of where it is, overdose, suicide, whatever, the brain is all interrelated to all of what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And I don't mind talking about my challenges publicly, because that's why I have a lot of passion for what you're doing, Will and Jen. And Marvin, obviously, playing football. Just that I didn't play football doesn't mean that we're not subject to concussions and all kinds of things like, hey, you get concussion on and off the gridiron. And that's why I told Candy that, hey, you know what, I'm prepared to let my brain donate it if it helps get some answers based on the head trauma that I've had to deal with. So this is something you just don't take lightly. Final topic of the night, and then we're going to get some information from Jennifer about what they're up to these days. Dallas Cowboys, Marshawn Kneeland, obviously the science lab was honoring him with a mental awareness. Can you give some details about Marcus Kneeland?
So you mean Marshawn Kneeland?
Yeah, Marshawn. I'm sorry.
He was a defensive end for the Dallas Cowboys. He played 2 seasons with the Cowboys until his death in November of 2025. He played college football for the Western Michigan Broncos, earning second-team Mid-American Conference honors in 2023. He was selected by the Cowboys in the second round of the 2024 draft. In the NFL, he had a total of 26 tackles, 1 sack, 1 fumble recovery, 1 pass deflection, and actually 1 touchdown. On November 6th of 2025, he was found dead from a gunshot wound following a police pursuit hours prior. His death is being investigated as a suicide. Yeah. I don't know what else, how much. Let's see.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. Right now, CTE, we don't have answers, so we're not going to put it in that classification. But when you put the word suicide in there, you don't have to say anymore, Kenny. You did great with your research. But the reality, unless you want to add something to it.
I just want to add one more thing. Kneeland's mother died unexpectedly of an undisclosed illness in February of 2024. 2 months before he was drafted by the Cowboys. Wow. And he carried his mother's ashes with him in a necklace at all times.
Okay. Well, there you go. So, Marvin, why don't you analyze what you think of what happened to Marshawn Kneeland?
So I'm happy that Candy added that piece at the end, because, I see we're trying to attach this to CTE, and I'm just thinking this could have been a young kid who just went through some really normal life stuff and didn't handle it well. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know what it was. And he's a big guy, played in the box, so he's up there, playing on the line of scrimmage, very physical, violent, to be honest. That's how the game's supposed to be played. But we don't know that it was CET. We don't know that, he had mental health issues. His mom just passed away. For a lot of people that I know, man, that's everything. You know what I'm saying? That's everything. And you get these young kids in these emotional moments going through real life experience, and, it happens not just to Dallas Cowboys, but to people every single day. You know what I mean? So I just really, you want to think about the family, the people who are still alive, who loved him, his friends, his teammates. And, just my heart goes out to this man's family. If it's CTE related, and they got to him soon enough, we'll find out. But, I think a lot of young people just go through life, man. And, I think a lot of us have been at really low points, that we got ourselves out of, that we may have forgotten about, But some people, you lose your mom, this is going on, problems with your girlfriend. And I haven't heard anything like that. I'm just saying, It's you can understand how this could happen, man. Because again, just in losing my dad, it's unbelievable to think that this person and I won't ever have a conversation again. You know what I mean? It's hard to kind of process that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's a horrible story.
Well, Jerry Jones has gone on record saying that he's going to do everything he can to make sure that Nealon's family is taken care of, is what he said, his child and his girlfriend or whatnot. So one thing about Jerry Jones, say what you want about him as a general manager. And I've actually met Jerry in the past before when I was covering the Cowboys and the Arizona Cardinals, talking about the Thanksgiving game, and Jerry was great. I enjoyed talking to him. But the reality is he's an individual, true to his word. He has a big heart. Let's forget about. And when he tells you he's going to go out there and make sure that this young man's family is taken care of, I take him true to his word. So that's a positive. Unfortunately, in Marshawn's case, gone way too soon. All right, go ahead, Candy.
One more thing that I wanted to add is that his girlfriend did tell police at the time that he had a history of mental illness. So he did have issues. Obviously, now whether we don't know if he was under any treatment or anything like that for that, but as Marvin said, a lot of us go through a lot of things, and it can be really heavy and hard at times. And if you don't have somebody you can reach out to help you, or if you don't have people that realize how far down you are, that matters too. You need to be a friend, I guess, and look out for people and reach out to people, and anybody you suspect that might have, it doesn't have to be CTE. It could be mental illness. It could be, deep depression. Let people know that you're there, and with no judgment. And I guess that's one of the big things. There's so much social media these days, and people want to judge people. And it's like, no, reach out to me. I'm here for whatever. And I think we kind of forget that sometimes.
Okay, I'll go ahead and go to Jen, Will, and then a few basic things as we get ready for the Sports Exchange at 9:00 p.m. Eastern Time. Hope you can join us for that. Jennifer, some thoughts about Marshawn Nealon.
It's a tragic story. I don't know, how closely tied. I think one of the things that we need to study is how closely tied mental illness is to brain injuries, because I actually do think that a lot of it is going to be, if we were to really unravel it, I think a lot of mental health concerns are going to be found to be brain injury related. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of his thing, whether he has, miswiring from other things as well. He certainly seems like it. I would say probably the same for the kid that shot up the NFL, or intended to shoot up the NFL. The same kind of thing. I think mental health and brain injuries are brothers and sisters, and Will can probably speak more on that.
And now you have an opportunity to speak more than that. Great segue, John.
Yeah. Well, what I say about it is you guys are saying all the right things, but some of the red flags are kind of missing. For example, every suicide, every murder that we see, we hear the same thing. This person began to act out of character. That's when you know there's a problem. That's when that person needs to get help. And only your loved ones are going to know when you're acting out of character, because I promise you, I didn't see it in myself. There was an article written by the New York Times called Sledhead that actually diagnosed me. I got on my knees and thank God all the symptoms missed me, even though I'm on the ground every day, every night praying for death. My teammates are already dying. I didn't even know I was depressed. I couldn't even tell you I was depressed, but I was praying for death. And so that's the one thing about this condition. Once the mind slips, you have no idea what you're dealing with, what you're talking about, the things that are going on around you. And that's why you see so many murders and suicides, and because these guys have no idea they're sick. And people around them really have to get them the help. They've got to get them the help.
All right, Candy, time for a quick station break. A few more things to get to. I want to make sure that we get to the Sports Exchange on time. Quick station break, Candy.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, talks about his 40-plus years in the media business and how it has evolved and changed, old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you see that red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to us. What are you waiting for? Just click it, like us, and share us. And then turn on your notifications so you're notified every time we go live. There's also a QR code up in that top left corner. You can always use that. That takes you right to our YouTube channel as well, so you can hit that subscribe button. Back to you, Scott.
All right, we'll go to some takeaways real quick. I only want to talk about 3 of these tonight. And thanks, Earl Kinsey, for being in here as well. Marvin and I and Candy will be at it around 9 o'clock as well. So we're doing real well. We're going to have a great sports exchange in a little while. But let's talk about, Will, you've been appearing on more shows lately. How about giving us an update about what you've been doing? I'm just going to leave this directed toward Will.
Well, man, thank you. I appreciate that. What I've been working on is just, as you know, raising awareness. We're talking about the transparency, dealing with the court case. Man, it's just a lot of overwhelming stuff. Like my last 4 court hearings, it's actually I'm the least qualified person to be sitting in front of that judge talking to him about this case. But here I am going against the lawyers who I hired, who are now standing with the defense. So yeah, so that's all I've been working on is that. My 501c3 for our foundation is official. So now we're trying to create partnerships and raise funds so we can start to get the equipment and start treating people. Well, actually, I can't even say treating, offering the therapy. I don't want to get in trouble with the powers that be. So yeah, so that's all I've been working on is taking the next step and trying to help as many people as I possibly can with this. Through my TikTok channel, I'm still mentoring people and helping them find chambers in their community and helping them through their substance abuse issues. And because that's what really takes people out. It's going to be that self-medicating piece of it. And so, but that's pretty much what I've been working on, guys, and just trying to stay focused and keep my own clarity.
All right, Jen, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I do want to add to that. Also, we're looking for bobsled athletes. Anybody who might be, battling some of these symptoms of vertigo, headaches, confusion, Will, if you want to add to that, depression, the outbursts, anything that could be related, but really just bobsled athletes, former bobsled athletes in general, we're looking to get in touch with them. If they want to get in touch with you, then you can put them in touch with us. Great
stuff. All right. Well, another question to you is what other things do you have in the works, Will and Jen? That's for you too.
You want to go first, Jen, or?
Yeah, you go first.
Oh, well, for me, my biggest thing is opening up the facility. Like I said, in the past, what I was doing is, helping people find the resources. And so now we want to have all the resources in-house. And so now I don't have to keep shuffling people around the different parts of the country. They can come to us. We'll be able to take care of, hopefully, their flights, housing, and all their treatment. And the tab will be on us so we don't pass that bill on to the families. Because it's just, like I said, it's too expensive. And I don't want people to turn down the treatment because they can't afford it. Like, I went through that and I don't want to put anybody else through that. It's really, for me, it's not a money-making venture for me. I had people who reached out, like I could have been open months ago, but I've been refusing all private money, and I'm gonna continue to do that. And we're gonna do it the right way, where we can offer the service and offer the service for free.
All right, Jenna, we'll give you the follow-up, and then our last thing will be for the panel in terms of what we have for takeaways of the show. Go ahead, Jen.
Just want to plug the GoFundMe. If people want to make donations to Williams CTE recovery, no, it's a post-concussion recovery center that he's opening up. And if you want to make donations, any little bit is going to help. And so it's GoFundMe 93FF as in Frank 9 C as in Charlie 6 E as in elephant. So 93FF 9C 6E. If you guys have $100, throw it in and help people who need get care.
Yeah, and the thing of it is, I hope people really understand. Let's say if we if everybody chipped in $1, we have 50,000 people chip in $1. That pays for the first chamber, and that's what it's all about: getting the equipment. Because one thing about the equipment is, like I have one sitting right here behind me. This one cost me $20,000. Once I have it, I can let people come use it all day long, every day. All I got to do is turn the switch on. I don't have to put oil in it. I don't have to put no gas in it. I don't have to do any maintenance on it. It is what it is. And so, and I think that's why we're getting a lot of flack from the powers that be. It's these intangible, untouchable people who say this thing might not be working, but you got people like me, Joe Namath, and a lot of other people who are getting the treatment, and it's waking us up. If you follow my story, before I filed my case, before I found treatment, I've struggled to put together sentences. Many words I couldn't say, I still can't say. But this thing is the real deal. It's the only way that I believe to remove that inflammation from the central nervous system, especially the brain. Yeah.
Okay. Our last segment of the night. Okay, we're going to go around the panel and have takeaways from tonight's show. Marvin, what's your takeaway?
Takeaway from the show. I tell you what, I did enjoy Jen's perspective because I didn't know her background or history as related to the shooter and CTE in the NFL office. Listen, I'm all for the NFL making this a safer game. I get it. I think just as a blocking fullback, my perspective is just different. I think it's just going to be violence all the time. But I'm for these guys getting all the information they deserve so they can make their own decisions. And that was a big issue with the concussion case and what was happening. The NFL knew how these players were injured, and they knew, what the consequences were going to be long term. They knew this stuff. They didn't tell anybody, and they should have. And then you have to question the ethics of doctors, people who are withholding information in the whole nine. But this is a subject that I'm definitely intrigued by, and I appreciate the participation by William and Jen on this for sure.
Candy?
I think my biggest takeaway, and if I'm going to give it my biggest takeaway for everybody out there, is that if you see somebody or you suspect somebody is acting out of character, say something, do something. It's for their best interest. And maybe it's nothing, but maybe it's something, and then they need help, and it's them crying out for help, and they don't realize that they need help. And that's the biggest thing, is that William said he didn't know he needed help. And if more of us can help others, the world could only be a better place, even if we only help one person.
All right, Will, what's your biggest takeaway from this episode?
Well, guys, if you look on this screen, I'm not sitting here by myself. My biggest takeaway is I'm not alone now, and I appreciate you guys. And man, what a journey I've been on. And I just appreciate you. And guys, please spreading that word. I don't, no matter what happens here with me being here, or if you guys keep moving on, share the word, just keep saving some lives. That's what it's all about. It's transparency. I don't care if people continue to do the sport. I'm not mad at the NFL. I'm disappointed in the bobsleigh team because they're still refusing to warn people. That's once you get that warning out the place, I'm done. My hands are washed. I've done what I was supposed to do. And that's a wrap. But thank you so much for just being supportive and being, not making me feel like the weird guy. Like I'm the only guy who I know with a hyperbaric chamber like Michael Jackson. Like, I got some problems going on here. So I appreciate you guys.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And Jennifer.
Yeah.
I think I enjoyed this conversation probably most. It was very informative. I really appreciated hearing Marvin's perspective of, from a football player, right? Where he's defending it. And I get it. Absolutely. That's your love. That's your life. And I want to defend football. I love football. It doesn't seem like it because I'm a Bruin. I know you think that, Marvin. I know what you're thinking, but but really, I think my key takeaway is along the lines of, what Candy's saying is if you see something, say something, but people don't know what to say. I think that's really where it comes down to. And it's if you're dealing with a volatile person, it is very dangerous to say something. So it is kind of a little bit hard. Like, what do you say? There's certainly a time when they're calm, when you might be able to say, I'm concerned, your anger seems out of control, or I'm concerned, you seem to be acting differently, but I don't know where you take it from there, because our system, I called the suicide hotline with a friend the other day because he was suicidal, and it was atrocious. It was awful. So I think there's a gap. And I think my biggest takeaway then of today's call, today's episode, is that we need to do better as a society in helping people when the injury happens and continuing afterwards. We need to do better as a society of caring for people and get back to caring for people over dollars. Dollars rule right now. Money rules everything, and people are throwaway. And I know there was a time in life when it didn't seem like that was what it was to me, you know. Have we changed a lot? Has the world always been barbaric? I mean, certainly you can look back through history and we've always had barbarism, you know, but why are we having it now? And why, you know, we want to think that we've evolved so far. We don't live in caves anymore, but yet here we are throwing away the athlete when they no longer can make us money. And that's just wrong. And so I think my biggest takeaway is there's a lot of work for us to do to continue to make we're not going to make sports safe. You know, we want to make them safer, but it's about protecting the athlete who's in the sport, during the sport and after the sport, because the injuries, the lasting effects of the injuries go on forever.
Right. I'll tell you what my biggest takeaways are in this. We had 3 topics totally different from one another. And most people won't realize this. And by the way, Candy, put some of Earl's comments up, including the one before. Okay. What was the first one there? Okay. Read it with the VA and all that. I want to start. All right, let's keep going. I want to read these here. I feel that what you are preaching, depression is a beast. Yeah, it really is. Being a military experience, PTSD, see my VA consultant for help and works for me. I appreciate you, William. We appreciate you anyways. Great stuff. Okay. Very good topic, Scott. Thank you. Appreciate it. Nobody really discusses this issue. We're not afraid to take on any major topics. I don't care. My biggest takeaway is this as we wrap up this episode. Number one, okay, we start off with Schumacher, right? Now, obviously, this probably doesn't have CTE ramifications on it, but affects the brain, period. His brain is going to be, you know, obviously compromised the rest of his life, even though skiing was obviously the situation that caused him to be in this current situation. The NFL headquarters, you have to bring it up. No ifs, ands, or buts about it because there is low-level CTE involved. Can't ignore that one. And last but not least, even though there's some TBDs to be determined on Marshawn Nealon, boy, all the signs are looking for is it could be, but I'm not here to speculate on what could be or what isn't. But I decided to take 3 different topics that were related or interrelated and try to connect the dots with brain. And that's how everything reacts in a way that it really does. We'll continue this series as often as we can. I have no ideas when the next one will be, but it'll be something that'll be talked about. But the one thing I can guarantee about this series is when I do write my second book, this is one that I do plan on putting on for Lessons from the Microphone Part 2. This is something that's important because I'm not afraid to be a gunslinger when it comes to trying different things. That's the only way you can survive in this business. Don't be afraid to take on the tough topics. I built this organization from the ground up with that philosophy. And I'll tell you, when the man upstairs says I can't do it no more, I'll remain a gunslinger. That's it. So, again, what we've done with Jennifer Will are worthy of my book. I would have a file already on it. It just depends on, we'll just play it all by ear and continue to see topics as they develop. And we'll determine the frequency for which it'll continue to roll. Go ahead, William.
Yeah, for the guy who, from a military guy who just made the comment, tell him to look up treatnow.org. It's an agency that's out there that's to help veterans get treatment now with hyperbaric oxygen. And so tell them to look there. That's a good resource. And or if not, find me on social media. Look up my TikTok channel, was One Man with the Chamber. Or just type in my name, Will Person. I'll help you navigate it and help you find the help that you need if you do need help.
All right, well, great stuff. Well said. Thank you, Earl. That does it for this edition of No Limits. But before we go, Marvin, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
Yeah, you can catch me, Marvin on the mic, Marvin Powell III. Marvin on the mic is my handle. I'm here with the South Florida Tribune Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning, Wednesday evening, and then again Saturday mornings as well.
All right, well, Marvin will join Candy and myself on the Sports Exchange following this show. All right, well, let everybody know how they can reach you.
Oh, best way to reach me is just Google me. I got a pretty big social media presence now. You can find me very easily. Or find me at One Man with a Chamber through my TikTok. That's the best way if you need help. If your loved one's doing things that doctors don't have an answer for, but you know they've been exposed to either the military or some type of concussion, car accident, or sports, I'll help you navigate this thing without stepping in all the potholes that I stepped in.
Last but not least, we got Jen. Go ahead.
I'm at Jennifer L. Horsepool. I'm easy. At Jennifer L. Horsepool, there is no E in my horse. I have a horse and a pool, but no E. So it's HORSPOOL. Keeps me with a good sense of humor. This was excellent. Thank you.
Candy, one last station break, then we'll preview what's ahead on Sports Exchange. Go ahead.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the media business and how it has evolved and changed. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there's a plethora of great content. If you ever want to be a guest or have topic ideas or you want to sponsor a show, please email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. And last but not least, if you see that red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel. Honestly, what are you waiting for? It is the greatest channel out there. You gotta get with it. Click it, like us, share us, and then turn on your notifications so you're notified every time we go live. There isn't a topic that we don't discuss pretty much. I mean, most all of them. So click it, like us, share us again, and turn on that notifications. We'd love to have you. And we want to say thank you to everybody that's been in the chat room.
Nice active chat room. So, Stuart, why a book? Has it all been said already? No way, man. Not in the media. Not everything's all been said. But if you want to think that way, that's fine. I get it. I'm Marvin's cousin William. He's one of our biggest fans out there. So, meanwhile, that does it for this edition of No Limits. On behalf of Marvin Powell III, Candy Ebling, Will Person, and Jennifer Horspool, we want to thank you for joining us tonight. The Sports Exchange is coming up. Thank you very much, Jen. Will will be in touch for sure. God bless. Take care, everybody. Be well. See you shortly.
Thank you.